Forbidden Comfort. Welcome, dear listeners, to the Heartbreak and Harmony channel. My friends, in today's story reading, I would like to share with you a short story titled Forbidden Comfort, an American Story. This is a tale about broken boundaries, sinful compassion, and the hidden loneliness within a seemingly perfect family. Please join me in listening. The atmosphere in the venerable Beacon Hill neighborhood of Boston was strangely quiet, with only the rustling wind sweeping through the moss-covered brown brick roofs. A slow-moving trail of white smoke drifted from the neighbor's chimney, carrying the mild aroma of dinner stew. This late afternoon in Old Boston wore a look of desolate sadness tinged with the pale purple of twilight. In the deep, narrow house, Sarah, a woman nearing 40, 39 years old, suddenly felt a surge of excitement, an undercurrent running through her body. She knew it was her latent desire waking up, like a strange flower that only blooms when night falls. Sarah decided to do something outrageous. Although there was still much risk at this hour, she had a reason to act. The house door was unlocked and anyone could justify being up to prepare for bed. Without further delay, Sarah quietly stepped toward her brother-in-law's room. That was Ethan. Ethan was the youngest brother of her husband, David. Their sister-in-law-brother-in-law relationship had now crossed the boundary of moral and ethical principles. For a year, they had been inseparable, experiencing wonderful moments of climax together, forgetting all doctrines and constraints. Ethan brought Sarah a feeling that was both new and intense, something her authoritarian husband, David was her husband, had inadvertently neglected long ago. Sarah was 39 years old, an age where a woman like her was at the peak of her maturity. Sarah and David had attended the same school, but they met through a friend's introduction. David was 2 years older than Sarah, slightly thin, with dark skin, and a passable but unremarkable appearance. Their love story was not as romantic as a romance novel. It was heavily weighted by calculation. Sarah was an online marketing specialist. One of the key reasons Sarah decided to proceed with the marriage was that David's family owned a chain of boutique hotels in the old quarter of Boston. More importantly, David's family had extensive connections to help her find a stable office job, and they had already prepared a separate house in the old quarter for the couple. Sarah's marriage was not purely love, but mixed with a bit of shrewd calculation. Ironically, Sarah's calculations did not go entirely smoothly. Her initial job was favorable, but after the director retired and someone else took over, everything started to decline. Sarah decided to quit and switched entirely to online business, selling beauty products and functional foods. Since taking this path, Sarah had taken better care of herself. Although she did not exercise much, thanks to the products she sold, Sarah looked increasingly younger and more beautiful than her age. Her body was slender yet full and attractive. In contrast, David, her husband, became increasingly bloated from drinking bouts entertaining his boss at the logistics company. His position remained stagnant, but the frequency of his drinking skyrocketed. His weight peaked at nearly 220 pounds. This physical overgrowth was accompanied by an increasingly gruff and irritable personality, leading to increased arguments at home. They had 2 children, a 9-year-old girl and a 6-year-old boy. Sarah gave birth quite late because the couple wanted to stabilize their careers first. Amid the rift between Sarah and David, Ethan, her brother-in-law, appeared. Ethan was quite eccentric. After graduating high school, he withdrew into his own world, obsessively focused on his computer and games, becoming so indifferent that even his parents were worried. Ethan always avoided strangers, especially girls. Initially, Sarah found it very difficult to get along with this brother-in-law. Everything changed on a fine day when Ethan told his parents he wanted to work. The whole family was surprised. Through family connections, Ethan was introduced to learn how to drive for Uber. Despite poor communication skills, he still got the job with the help of relatives. However, the pandemic struck and work stalled. Ethan quit and went home to help his mother sell goods at the farmer's market. But his introverted nature kept him unfocused. He became more depressed and refused all advice, especially about getting married. Things changed when Sarah needed a delivery person. Initially, she didn't dare ask this golden boy for help. But one time, the order volume was too high and the shipper was unavailable. Sarah called Ethan, and unexpectedly, Ethan agreed. He helped her ship goods for a few days without taking any pay. Sarah felt awkward, so she bought delicious food and insisted he stay for dinner with the whole family. Afterwards, Sarah asked Ethan directly, "Are you free? I'll pay you, go ship goods for me." Ethan agreed. Since then, the two siblings worked together and gradually became closer. Working together for over a year, Sarah and Ethan were inseparable. Sarah was practically the only person in the family who could order, instruct, or control Ethan. Ethan, now 22 years old, was no longer grumpy or walked out like before, even though he knew his sister-in-law was tricking him into social gatherings. This was almost a special privilege he reserved just for Sarah. Thanks to Sarah and Ethan, her coffee and dessert shop, new business, at her in-law house in Boston attracted more customers, requiring her to hire extra students on weekends. Sarah earned more money and her affection for Ethan deepened. Her mother-in-law often whispered to Sarah, asking her to persuade Ethan to get married. Sarah had tried, but he always found excuses to avoid it, even lying that he was homosexual. One time, Sarah returned to her hometown in Vermont, new location, for her grandfather's death anniversary commemoration. Her husband pleaded a busy schedule and didn't go. Forgetting the bus time, Sarah had to ask Ethan to drive her back. Initially, Ethan refused because he was shy around relatives, but Sarah begged until he agreed. After the ceremony, Sarah's house was deserted because her parents had gone to her eldest uncle's house to talk to her second cousin who was ill. Only Sarah and Ethan remained. While watching a movie downstairs, Sarah asked Ethan about a pretty cousin. "Ethan, what do you think of Holly?" New cousin's name. "Is she pretty? I'll introduce you." Ethan immediately refused decisively. "I told you, I'm not getting married." Sarah was annoyed. "Why do you keep avoiding the subject of marriage? You're almost 30, said in anger, meaning he's old enough. "I know for a fact that the homosexual reason is fake. My husband said you still watch regular movies." Ethan frowned, got up, and lay on the bed. "I'm not getting married. I'm not getting married. Stop asking." Sarah saw Ethan dodging the question, but her curiosity was too great. For years, whenever women were mentioned, he reacted this way. She went into the room, pulled Ethan up to sit, and asked seriously, "Sit up and talk to me. Tell me the truth. Maybe I can help. Are you really planning to stay single?" After a while of avoidance, Ethan finally spoke, his voice full of frustration. "I'm so ugly. How can I keep a wife? Why get married?" Sarah looked at Ethan and realized he was insecure about his appearance. She comforted him, pointing out the good conditions of Ethan's family. Houses on the main street, 2 houses for rent, they would be his in the future. "You lack nothing but a wife. You're wealthy and good-looking. What are you afraid of?" Ethan still bowed his head, clutching his hands. I can't do that thing." Sarah was confused. "What thing? Tell me." Ethan stammered and stuttered. "I can't get it up. It seems like I'm paralyzed in that area." Ethan buried his face in his hands, weeping in Sarah's astonishment. This was the real reason. Sarah silently examined Ethan's body. With the normal physique like this, how could he be paralyzed? After a moment to calm down, Sarah asked again, "How do you know?" Ethan recounted a time he went to a bar, new location. "Once I went to a bar, the girl there told me I was like that. I only went to hang out, not for services." "Have you never been intimate with anyone, including self-relief?" Yes, I only went to hang out that one time and was criticized, so I never dared again. Sarah's eyes welled up with tears of pity. She considered Ethan like her own younger brother. Hearing the story now, her heart ached no less than her biological mother's. Sarah was terrified of the consequences if the family found out. After a period of thought, a sinful and reckless idea flashed into Sarah's mind. She wanted to verify it. She wanted to know if Ethan was truly paralyzed or just weak, so she could find a cure. Sarah, Sarah called softly. I want to see, to check, acting as a doctor. Don't have bad thoughts. I just want to know your real condition. Can we try? Ethan was stunned, but in his eyes there was no longer avoidance. It was complete trust. He trembled as he stood up and followed his sister-in-law's words. Ethan confessed he felt something, although very slight. Sarah could only rub his back and comfort him. In that moment, the wrong idea in Sarah grew stronger than ever. She wanted to let Ethan experience the taste of a woman to restore his self-confidence. She was afraid to cross the line, but her pity conquered everything. Ethan, do you want to do that thing with me? Sarah mustered all her courage to say the most unbelievable sentence of her life. Ethan jumped up. Are you crazy? You're my sister-in-law. Sarah hugged him tightly, holding Ethan still so he could feel her warmth and calmness. I know, but I just want to know how severe your real condition is. Consider it therapy, so we can be less awkward, okay? Sarah's sincerity finally subdued Ethan. He nodded his head. Yes. Sarah pulled Ethan toward the bed. Their eyes met, full of shyness like teenagers. Sarah broke the silence. Her clothes quickly slipped to the floor. Ethan closed his eyes in surprise, but deep in his soul, he smiled contentedly because he was close to the person he secretly loved and yearned for. Sarah began with deep, passionate kisses. Being kissed by his sister-in-law for the first time, the person he longed for every night, made Ethan feel reborn. He felt her warm breath and surging excitement. After a few minutes, Sarah felt embarrassed when that place of hers was already soaked. It was a sign of pleasure, not just therapy. You're wonderful, thank you, Ethan whispered. Sarah felt a hardness behind her, something that hadn't happened to Ethan in decades. She was flustered. See, yours is already big. You're just shy. Being intimate with women more often, you will be able to marry. Yes, thank you for helping me. Seeing Ethan showing positive signs and Sarah herself was already aroused, she shyly said, Do you want to do that thing with me? Yes, I do. Please don't laugh at me. Why would I laugh? If you can get it up, I'll be happy for you. The two embraced and entwined. Sarah felt Ethan's size and fullness were no less than her husband's. Although the battle didn't last long, Sarah was very satisfied with the new feeling Ethan brought. After everything was over, Sarah stepped off the bed, tried to turn off the TV, and returned to her room. Lying in bed, she tossed and turned. Was what I did right? Even if it was out of pity, this was still adultery. She tried to console herself that this was just helping her naive brother, not driven by romantic feelings, to lessen the guilt in her heart. 2 weeks later, under Sarah's pressure, Ethan finally agreed to go to the urology department at Massachusetts General Hospital. New location. In Boston. The doctor's conclusion was that the indicators were normal, but the issue with controlling that part was psychological, specifically due to excessive self-pleasure habits. The doctor advised giving up the old habit and finding something else to increase hormones, to forget the self-pleasure, and that something else was women. Well, that's easy then. Tomorrow I'll find you a girlfriend, right? Sarah said, laughing. It's not that easy. We have to abstain and finish this pile of medicine first. Ethan was still adamant about refusing marriage. Ethan remained aloof and avoided Sarah whenever she brought up the topic of marriage. But the two siblings' business was booming. Ethan's health condition, according to his words, was relatively stable. 2 months passed and everything returned to normal. They were happy and close, as if nothing had happened. But the truth was not so. One day, as Sarah and Ethan were arranging breakfast, Sarah noticed Ethan was sluggish and listless. She touched his forehead. No fever, but his face was pale and worn out. Ethan suddenly spoke, his voice trembling. "Sis, can you help me with something?" Sarah felt extreme anxiety. "What's wrong with you? Did something—" Ethan looked at her, his eyes tired but full of longing. "Can you help me with that thing from last time?" Sarah immediately understood the problem. She was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Helping would be adultery. Not helping meant hurting Ethan. Ethan adamantly refused again. "I won't get married. Don't say it again." Sarah looked at his eyes with red veins, clearly seeing the indifference of the past resurfacing. Frightened, she decided to yield. Let me think about it." After 2 days of deliberation, Sarah made up her mind. She told herself, "It's simply because Ethan is too pitiful, and no one else but me can help him." That morning, Sarah called Ethan into the house and closed the door. She laid down a condition. "I agree, but on one condition, you must get married." Ethan immediately stood up. "Then I don't need it." Sarah grabbed his hand. "I'm not forcing you to get married right away. I will help you until you are completely confident, and when you are ready, you tell me to find a wife for you, or you can find one yourself. What do you think?" Ethan hesitated. Sarah was patient. Finally, Ethan nodded. "Yes, ma'am." Sarah stepped forward and spoke softly. "Come up to my room, then." The bedroom of Sarah and David, a place that had witnessed coldness, now became the venue for a forbidden love pact. "Are you shy? Shall we take a shower together?" Sarah asked. Her body was already sweaty from work. "Yes, ma'am. Can I shower with you then?" Ethan smiled widely, making Sarah blush. "Oh dear, young man, you're getting excited so fast." She lightly scolded him lovingly. The two guided each other into the bathroom. The giggling gradually subsided, replaced by the steady sound of water and endless soft kisses. Through the foggy glass, Sarah's silhouette appeared like a goddess of love, treating her poor brother-in-law. Ethan exclaimed once again, "Oh, why is yours so big?" "It's only the second time." "I don't know, ma'am, it just likes you." Ethan smiled sheepishly. Sarah was no longer awkward. She realized her feelings had crossed the boundary of siblings. The feeling Ethan brought was something only a man and a woman could understand. After the ritual of procreation concluded, Ethan started his new day with soaring work efficiency, like someone with hyperactivity. Sarah was unaware that she was about to step into months of madness, where the new pleasure would overshadow all morality, and Ethan's dependence on her would become a sweet, inseparable burden. Loneliness and the need for connection. The loveless marriage and coldness from her husband, David, created a large emotional void in Sarah, causing her to seek satisfaction and connection in a forbidden place. The thin line between compassion and sin. The initial pity and desire to cure her brother-in-law, Ethan, quickly turned into personal gratification and adultery, showing that kindness can be overshadowed by desire and loneliness. The consequences of calculation. A marriage based on material calculations, house, job, that lacks a foundation of genuine love will easily fall apart when faced with temptation or change, the degradation of the husband.